So welcome back. Thanks a lot for your discipline. I know it was a very short break. This is now our highlight, our big panel discussion, and I think it's really big, as you can see. I'm very glad that we have a lot of experts here on stage. Let me quickly just announce them to you. Let me start to my left. Achim Fetzer, you already know from Scholz Recycling and Reon Group. Then we have Gerhard Christina from Austrian Power Grid, coming especially now to this panel discussion. Dr. Kurt Satzinger from First Alpine, thanks a lot for joining us. Heiner Guschal, you know already, from Sikon Group from his presentation in the morning. Alexander Fleischhandel, Mr. Green from Primetals Technologies, thanks again for being with us. Then Kurt Herzog, Head of Industry 4.0 of Primetals Technologies. Then Dr. Michael Sota, also from Vienna, thanks a lot. So he's from the Vienna Chamber of Labor and lecturer at a lot of universities. And by the way, usually we do not do this kind of promotion, but this is a kind of like funny side effect. Recently you just published a new book, right? So, and it's called, the title, A Green Revolution. So I think this is a perfect match to today's conference. Thanks for bringing this book with you. Hope we can talk about this also. And finally, we have, again, Robert Thomas from Volkswagen Innovation Group. Thanks a lot. So let's start with the first question. I'll also keep an eye. If you submit any questions via slido.com, please just keep typing your question using Slido and the code. I will just review them and read out the most interesting ones to our panelists. So Dr. Satzinger, maybe I may ask, I'll start with you. We have already heard about the quite big investments First Alpine is just doing right now and what has been achieved so far. And there are a lot of aspects you have in your plan where we heard a lot of details about EAF, scrap-out automation, power supply, all these kind of things you're obviously anyway implementing right now. Can you maybe tell us a bit like what innovations are or will be key in your opinion so that First Alpine can move along on your path to a green future?
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be here and of course a perfect question to start this round. You mentioned a lot of important things. Yeah? As you heard today, we will invest in an EAF. We will operate it by 2027, and we will reduce our CO2 emission up to -30%. It's a great number, and as you maybe know, we are an integrated steel mill. That means integrated and blast furnace minded. From that point of view, EAF technology is a huge step for us to put it into the steel plant. And out of that, of course, EAF technology is a common technology, but it's new for that thing that we are doing because we will work with EAF technology in a high premium steel portfolio. And there are a lot of challenges because, of course, we need the power supply. We heard a lot of that today. And there we had two big projects, and it's an honor to have Mr. Christina next to me because he was a great supporter in this project. And to bring the 220 kV cable to Upper Austria, to Linz, and also to Hessenberg in Donawitz it was very necessary for us to be able to operate an EAF. And that is one point. The second point is scrap. We heard a lot of scrap. Scrap will be the new gold, let's say, because to reduce CO2 emission, it's important to put a lot of scrap into the EAF. But the problem is there are also a lot of tramp elements in the scrap, and that limits the amount of scrap that can be put into the oven. And out of that, we have a lot of R&D activities to increase this amount of scrap that can be used. And we have also found the thresholds that are really necessary for our customers for a product portfolio. And there we put really a lot of R&D capacity in exactly this topic, starting by sorting. Smart scrap sorting is such a keyword for us because everything that is sorted must not be processed in a special way. And also the processing is a huge topic. That means all this stuff, let's say with machine learning, AI and so on, is a very huge topic for us to bring this higher amount of scrap into the oven and also to our customers. And that are a number and a huge challenge for the R&D department. And as you heard today, this is only the first step of our decarbonization story to implement one EAF. Our next step is to implement a second EAF instead of a blast furnace, but then the story becomes complicated because then we would like to reduce our CO2 emission by 2050 to net zero, and that is a big challenge. And there are, let's say, 3 ways to do that. One way is with carbon direct avoidance. This is all around this hydrogen stuff. Then also CCS and CCU means carbon capture storage and also carbon capture utilization. And we already started a lot of R&D projects exactly in that field because it's important to have enough time to develop these technologies and to increase, to bring it in an industrial scale, because that is very time expanding and also it's very cost intensive to say, yeah. And from that point of view, it's really necessary to start it now, to be ready when we need these technologies to use in our plants. Well, and to give you also an idea about this project, one project is the H2 Future project. There we invested into a hydrogen plant, that means in an electrolyzer, where we produce our own hydrogen, because hydrogen in that amount is not available on the market, and this is the basis for us to have enough hydrogen. And also we have 2 pilot projects, one in Donawitz, or both in Donawitz, one with the name Steel and the other one with HYFOR. And these 2 pilot projects are very important for us because these technologies work with hydrogen to reduce iron ore, and that is fundamental for this carbon direct avoidance strategy of voestalpine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe I have another question for Mr. Christina, since already was mentioned that you know each other. The companies have, of course, some interfaces. Mr. Christina, we have already heard from Ms. Tatschl before that, of course, there are a lot of investments that have been made from energy suppliers as Austrian Power Grid. Maybe you could share what are big projects which are ongoing at Austrian Power Grid in the near future, and which might also contribute to the situation that voestalpine can then really operate the EAFs that are coming.
So, but to make it clear, we are not an energy provider. We are operating the transmission system in Austria. So this is our task to guarantee a reliable and safe operation. But of course, we have a lot of projects in Austria, and what is very important, I think, at the beginning, it's relevant to know where is all the supply coming from in the future, and where is all the need coming from, where is the need located. So on the supply side, we know in Austria we have a huge amount of renewables now in the eastern part of Austria, which is especially PV and wind. We reached 7.7 gigawatt of PV this year, and we have about 4 gigawatt wind installed. On the other hand, on the supply side, what we also need to know is we are part of an European electricity system. So for us, it's very, very important to be part of this electricity market in Austria. And for that purpose, it's not just to build the last mile, as I say, from the substation in Ernsthofen to the substation of voestalpine. This is very important, of course, because we have to strengthen that line. But I think for voestalpine, it is also very important to have access to the cheapest electricity in Europe. And this is not just for voestalpine, it's for every industry in Austria and even every customer. And this is our aim also, to make a holistic planning. That means to look what will the future look like, where is the electricity supply located in Austria, but also in Europe, and where is the need, where is the customer side, which means where is the industry. And so we try to develop our projects and we try to simulate the whole system. And based on that, we define out the projects we would like to build. So we are obliged by law to provide every 2 years a grid development plan, which includes all the projects we intend to build. It involves an amount of close to 9 billion euros till 2032. And there you can find all the transmission projects we see as necessary, that we can provide really a secure supply for all our customers.
Thank you very much. I think apart from electricity, which is a very important input or resource for steel producers like voestalpine, of course, data is also a very important input or a source for steel producers. Maybe how do you, as one of the leading partners for steel industry supplying automation and digitalization solutions, make sure that the data are available, and how do you ensure this?
Well, the availability of data is, I would say, not a challenge at all in the steel industry. I think that in the steel industry, all the data is available. There is hardly any industry where more data is collected. The challenge is that the data is all well stored in silos. So there is all the data there for the blast furnace, and there is all the data there for the converter or the electric arc furnace, and there is all the data there for the continuous casting machine. But if you want to use the data beneficially, you need to combine the data. And this is where we come with one of our products into place. It was briefly mentioned by Jürgen Zeyer in his presentation, where we say the data of what happened to a product travels with the product along the entire chain. So this means taking the new route of voestalpine, starting on the scrapyard, we exactly know what scrap is charged to the furnace. And this information travels with the ladle to the continuous casting machine, and is enriched with what happened to how was the scrap melted, how was the scrap treated in the secondary metallurgy, and the ladle travels to the continuous casting machine with the data. And on the continuous casting machine, it is enriched with the data from the continuous casting machine. So at the end, when the product is in the product yard, ready to be shipped, there is a digital twin or copy of this product that holds all the information, what happened, how this product was produced. And I think that this is very decisive if you want to make beneficial use of this data. And if data is treated like that, for the challenges voestalpine is facing, to develop the production process fast, to have the same steel quality, or use the new route to produce new steel products, having this kind of data available without additional effort is very decisive. And we provide those systems, and for sure the question is why does that process start at the scrapyard and why does it end at the product yard? Because I'm pretty sure Volkswagen has similar systems in place where they say, okay, this is the entry yard for our coils. We have some data, and whatever happens and whatever we do, we collect the data along till the car is somewhere on a yard to be shipped. So would be an interesting question to discuss when we discuss steel circularity, also discuss data circularity and what benefit we could create in this circularity if data would be more openly shared.
Mr. Thomas, maybe you want to comment on this?
I agree. Yeah, so basically there's also this Catena X initiative, or there are also other initiatives where we're trying to collect the data not just in the Volkswagen Group, but also with our Tier 1s. And then we know that also this circularity passport is discussed in this end-of-life directive. Also, there's this battery passport, so there are things still going on, but I would also say that we in the Volkswagen Group, we have the issue that we have lots of data, but it's in silos, it's maybe also paperwork. Yeah? And so this is a very, very high effort to put everything in one system and also use like new technologies in order to access all the data and interlink it so that you can make some ideas or some information or some knowledge which you wouldn't have when you just have a look at the one of the data silo.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Fetzer, I think when you talked about the gap question in terms of providing scrap or processed scrap. Is there any maybe also like information gap related to data or information you say you would love to have to even perform better as a partner for steel industry?
Yeah, for sure. As I also mentioned, the earlier we are involved, the more precise, let's say, information we get available in terms of future scrap demand, especially in terms of quality, to support the steel industry to really ensure that you can produce the quality you need in your decarbonization journey. The better we can build on it, and also the better we can, let's say, optimize our sorting technology, our downstream technology, and let's say also make the product available you need, and therefore to support your journey.
Perfect. Maybe Heiner, since we're just talking about scrap, I mean, as far as I learned, of course, due to more and more electric arc furnaces coming up, there is more and more demand for scrap, and how it is processed. Yeah, I learned from you that crafted scrap is the key. Did you as Sikon had to adapt a lot your machines and your technologies to be able now to address this need of steel industry?
Definitely. You mentioned scrap is the new gold. I would say scrap is always fashionable. There's always a market for scrap. But we see at the moment, especially due to the transition of the integrated plants, they are planning with a higher quantity of scrap utilized or consumption, which needs a better quality. We can clearly see that there is a much stronger demand, not only from integrated steel plants, but also from typical long steel producers, which are typically producing with the AAF route. And also they have the demand to reduce electric power, to minimize the slack generation. But we see that there is more demand from the steel industry, but from the scrap industry. For the scrap industry, transparency is something which they typically not like. But steel industry needs transparency. They need to know what they are using. And this maybe is also the reason why we see more and more projects coming where scrap refining processing is done inside the steel plant and not anymore in the scrap industry. You are maybe something in between because the steel plant is a shareholder. But many scrap operators have not understood that the steel industry is looking for other qualities and that they are not just using what they get supplied.
Very good. Thanks for that statement. Now, a lot of like new technologies are coming up. I mean, Alexander, you presented a lot of them in your keynote. And you also presented the 3 phases of the green transformation, 1, 2, 3. So one is the optimization phase. I don't remember the years exactly, but I think it's still ongoing, but the end is very soon, isn't it? So in your opinion, is the steel industry, let's say, well on track, actually performing in optimization phase to be prepared for phase 2? Or are there maybe some regions or maybe some technologies or routes that lost maybe track already?
Gosh, say what a punch, yeah? So now we are talking for 7 hours in a row about all new technologies in optimization. And you're asking now if we are off the track. No, we are not off the track. You always can do better. Yeah? There's always room for improvement. But I think we've heard multiple examples how we still can do optimization along the whole value chain. And even if we look on a global perspective, yeah, so there was a lot of focus on the European side, but I would say even in China and India, we see a lot of initiatives of pilots supported by the government, like in India, utilizing first-time hydrogen, talking about scrap processing, scrap cleaning, and many other things in the circularity. So I would say, no, we are not off the track. I would agree what Paris from World Steel was mentioning. We should avoid focusing too much on the white elephants. Yeah? So carbon direct avoidance. There's still a lot of potential with the optimization. So we are not finished. Christoph, we're in the middle of the optimization. We will continue, especially with the support of digitalization of AI. As Kurt was saying, I think this was a wonderful statement done by Kurt, traveling the data. This provides so much potential to optimize. So let's remain optimistic at the end of this event as well. We are on track.
Very good. Thanks a lot for that. Now, we have talked a lot of changes that will happen, a lot of innovations that have happened. I think, Mr. Sola, a lot of that was maybe triggered by political initiatives. You are an expert on energy policy. What do you think? What kind of European policy initiatives have really had an impact on industry and have really started to change something, already changed something?
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation and this small question. The former European Commission had a political goal to be Europe as first climate neutral continent. And to reach this goal, they implemented many different or plenty of initiatives and acts that tried to steer and guide the European economy into that direction, also in the direction of circularity. Beginning the Green Deal, the Net Zero Industry Act, the Green Deal Industrial Plan, and so on. There are many. If you have a list, it's a very long list, and initiatives and acts that try to accelerate the structural change directed into this decarbonization and circularity direction. What we're now seeing with the incoming Commission is that there's a slight shift in priorities of the Commission based on the Draghi report or the mission letters of the incoming members of the Commission, where we see a shift slightly away from this political goal of be the first climate neutral continent towards the questions of competitiveness and strategic autonomy. And therefore there will be, or there remain much more to do on the European level, and the Commission is planning to do circular economy law of European level, a nice word, at the Green Deal Industry Decarbonization Acceleration Act, yeah, so to accelerate the decarbonization of the European industries from the perspective of a global shifting rat race in green technologies. And I think this will continuously accelerate this transformation, and it will deepen it. And we have to raise questions about the quality of these governance systems. But I think it's going in the right direction.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Sola. Mr. Christinemann, I was just talking about Europe on the one hand. I mean, I learned in the Vorfeld that, of course, Austria is, I think, quite well connected to be able actually to to address the energy needs coming up in future. Maybe you can elaborate a bit on this. What are the connections to what other stakeholders across countries, and what is important here?
Yes, from a grid perspective, we are really very well connected. So as Austria, we have interconnectors to all our neighboring countries, except Slovakia, but that has just historical reasons, yeah. That helps us, as I said before. I think it's very important to have the grid ready for the electricity we will need in Austria, and for the exchange especially, because we all know with the renewables we get a lot of volatility into the system, and we can only counter the volatility with flexibility, and even a strong grid provides a lot of flexibility. Yeah. So this is what we, as I said, try to do as APG. So we are doing our job here in Austria to strengthen all the lines, to get access to all, let's say, market areas in Europe, as long as we still have separated areas, I have to say, because we don't have one price for electricity. In the electricity we have, it is traded in quarterly hour levels, and what we see is we have different bidding zones, and it's more cheaper. The electricity is cheaper in the northwestern part of Europe than in the southeastern part. And so we have to try to get approach to the future, let's say, energy hubs we will see in Europe. And this will be the North Sea region, so with all the renewables there, with the offshore wind farms which are planned. And this is the only way we can do as a landlocked country to get access to these regions, especially for our industry, that they have the access to the cheapest electricity which is available. Okay.
Thank you very much. Now we have talked a lot today really about circularity. I mean, also, Mr. Thomas, you presented this nice picture how like circularity is like this is the vision of Volkswagen, or what are like the focus topics. Do you see that end customers already kind of like value when there is recycled material in a car, or that it is already part of a certain circularity?
So at first we have this internal and external drivers in order to make a more sustainable car. So there's also some circularity aspects in there. And also this external driver, so this coming end-of-life directive, this is a heavy driver where our development department, or basically the whole group, is somehow trying to find solutions. And when it comes to the customer, we see that the customer wants to have a sustainable car. The question is, how much is he willing to pay for that? Because there are studies which say later on the customer sees it as a necessity to have a sustainable car, but he doesn't want to pay a lot for that. And so that's why this is always like the work we are doing. So you as an energy provider, you're saying you have heavy investments. The steel industry is saying that you have heavy investments. And we from the automotive industry, as you might know, Volkswagen, we are trying to find a bit more profit, and we have like a very hard competitors coming from Asia. So we still are trying to find solutions, or we are about to develop cars which are like, let's say, cost efficient in order that our customers can afford such mobility. And so this is something where we have to discuss all together in an early phase. So where's the threshold, and where what can we do in this situation?
Thank you very much. Now, when we talk about circularity, Mr. Satzinger, we learned in the presentation of your colleague, Mr. Galeitner, that there is an ongoing R&D project. Most likely it's your project, CISMA, so circular steel for mass market applications. Maybe you can tell us a bit about the goal of this project, and maybe a bit of the background, how this started.
Well, let's start with some comments we heard on the panel. I totally agree. The cost issue is a very big one. Yeah. Also, the data thing is a very big one, and also the Draghi report is a huge one and good for industry. Let's say, yeah, because to have only this wording Green Deal and be carbon neutral and so on, yeah, that are big challenging things. Yeah, and we have to have the right framework. To get this goal, let's say, of a Green Deal and to reduce CO2 emissions? Well, to put one thing and let's say add on that is exactly that R&D project because from a quality point of view, I started the speech with the BOF and the EAF side. We are strong-minded on BOF, and we always said for high-quality products you need a BOF and not EAF. Yeah, it's totally new. It's a new mindset for us and also for the steel industry. And our customers heard that story really long. Yeah, many times we talked exactly of that. When you need high quality steel products, then you need this BOF route. Yeah, and now we are coming and say, okay, because of Green Deal, we need the EAF technology. Yeah, and you will get the same quality in your product. Yeah? And that means our customers are not ready for EAF products in many fields. And this R&D project exactly deals with that. We try to find products and we try to find processes and we try to give our customers the feeling that the EAF steel is comparable with BOF steel. And it's also for us a very important R&D project because within this project we learn a lot. We learn a lot of scrap, of the trapping elements. We learn a lot of the quality. We learn a lot of how important is the process. With all this data, there is a lot of data, and we put scrap in it, and we have this trap element, and quality gets worse. But the process can help. With all this, we learned before, machine learning, AI technologies, and so on, because we exactly know which scrap is put into the EAF, and we learn about our temperatures, and we learn about the chemistry in the steel, and that helps within the process to bring high-quality products also out of EAF technology. And this is the main point, and in this project we work together to show in this special case, the automotive industry and also the household industry about this EAF steels. What are the limits of that? What are the thresholds of that? It's a very important and it's really exciting project to learn about that. We started in 2024 in October, and we work on that by till 2028, and that means we are on a journey. I learned there's room for improvement. I totally agree in that. It's an important and really necessary project. We are working in the R&D department together with partners.
Thanks a lot. So, Mr. Fetzer, there's a question from our audience. I think this is one for you. How long would it take to convert the EU scrap market to fit future needs related to quality and quantity? Do you have any idea or comment on that?
So thank you for the question. It's a very good question on the one hand, a challenging question on the other hand. I also agree with Heiner that that the transparency historically was quite limited in the industry, maybe shared with other commodity raw material trading companies. But I also saw a lot of consolidation in the past years in the industry, bigger players established, and they for sure recognized that you have to listen to the customer, you have to listen to his needs, and scrap is a product, and the product have to fit the customer's needs. And on the long run, I'm sure the players who recognize these demands, they will succeed for sure. How long it will take is hard to predict, as hard it is to predict to, let's say, forecast the scrap demand, the crude steel production, and also the usage of HBI or DRI. These are for, let's say, recyclers, which is traditionally a low margin business, huge investments to transform for sure. We saw, let's say, the toolbox from Seacon with really nice technologies, but it's also major capex and for recyclers. And for this reason, the earlier we collaborate, the earlier we get the information, the earlier the industry will adapt.
Thanks for that. Now again, talking about scrap, Heiner, when I just remember the slide we had twice at the conference, this history of the cars and how the steel qualities changed, we saw there are like impurities had just to come down and down and down again. And I suppose there might be a similar development when we talk about the perfect scrap as a raw material or input for steel industry, that the demands for that are also like improving again and again. Where do you see the biggest challenges, like in regards to your technologies, where you maybe also have to improve in future to follow these trends?
Yes, we can clearly see this. The problem is scrap is getting more complex. Volkswagen is building more complicated, more complex cars, and the result we see in worsening qualities. I described this. I think that many parts of the scrap industry are ready for investments, for improvements. It's sometimes the question, do I get a certain additional amount of revenue if I produce a better quality? And the other point is also we see a lot of restrictions and hesitating customers in the private area because they are fearing long permission procedures when they change something in their process. Therefore, a lot of companies are working with old-fashioned plants. Some told me, the guy was 61, if I apply now for permission, I will be 67 when I have the permission. I will not do it. I will continue to work with my old plant. This is something where the policy could do something, where investments, improvements could be accelerated by helping people to get faster permissions. I think there is more understanding that the steel industry is demanding for more scrap, that they are demanding for a better quality. And I agree to you, there has been a consolidation in the market. We see this clearly in the US, but they can implement new processes much, much faster. And we see they are with steel production, EAF production ahead of us, and they are basically also with a little bit different environmental standard, definitely, but they are ahead of us regarding processing of scrap. And that the infrastructure or the environmental conditions are for them easier.
Okay, thanks a lot, Heiner. We've heard a lot, or at least a couple of times today also, that automation and digitalization solutions are key to foster a green transition. So I would suppose that if there are more and more automation and digitalization solutions now the steel producer has to handle, to operate, to manage, that this might get overwhelming at a certain time, or it is already, depending on the maturity of the automation system, I suppose. How do you just support steel producers to handle this situation?
I did not use the picture with the cars yet, so I will use it now. We saw I think it was a Carman, was it, on the left-hand side? What information was given to the driver? Speed, maybe cooling water temperature, rotations per minute of the engine, maybe a clock, yes, and only an indication about the oil pressure. And there was one additional sensor which was not obviously visible to the driver. That was the oil level, so he had to open the motor and check the oil level. So that was all the information that was presented to the driver, and that was all the information that was available. What's presented to the driver today? It's not that much more. What is available? It's incredible. How many sensors are in an ID4? Rough number? Thousands? But the driver is not bothered with that. And there in the steel industry, both on the supplier side, but also on the demand side, I think we somehow went a little bit into the wrong direction. Yeah, whatever information is available needs to be displayed, but it's too much now. So we have the process control system, we have a process optimization system. We have a condition monitoring system, we have maybe a system that predicts, because Mr. Christina or Ms. Datschel want to know the energy consumption in the next quarter of an hour, that predicts the energy, and if there is a deviation to the original plan, the operator has to react. So we present all this information to the operator, and that doesn't work. And what we are doing now is saying, like in the car, just display it if it's relevant now. It's a change of paradigm, because operators typically want to know everything. I don't know why, because when they go home from work, they jump into their car and they don't have any problem that they don't have all the information the car could theoretically provide. But in the plant, they want to know everything. But it is, as I said, it is too much. And what we do now with our central operation cockpit is trim that down, not provide all the interfaces to all the automation systems to the operator, but provide one interface to the plant for the operator that provides the information if it's necessary, that gives warnings if they are relevant, that gives support if needed, and the rest simply is not displayed. And I think that this is absolutely necessary even for experienced people. And if we talk about people who don't have the experience, they need these kind of support systems. And this was mentioned several times today, that qualified staff will be one of the challenges in the industry and in the steel industry. So these kind of support systems are necessary. And that brings then the necessity of giving them still the opportunity to train critical situations in a simulation environment as one example. But this is the way we have to work, and this is what we have started some years ago, and where we have already installed first references.
Okay, thanks. Very well. Yeah, please, Mr. Thomas.
I would just like to comment the first one from Mr. Guschal, because of all the material complexity in our cars. So basically, within the last years, there was a slogan, the right material at the right place. And so that's why we're having, like, I don't know, 35 different alloys, steel alloys in our ID cars. And I mean, for steel, the recycling technology is quite good, but if we look at plastics, then we have different plastics, we have different fillers, we have different additives. So it's very hard to basically sort them. Also, when we combine them, if we have multi-layers, if we have composites. And so the question is also, in the future, do we really need this complexity, or can we just bring the material variety down? But this must always go together with the customer, because we are not putting so much material in different, in different combinations in our cars because we want to show the world that we can do it. But we are doing this because we see a benefit for the customer in order, for example, in the interior. And just regarding the sensors, also lots of the sensors are coming in because of legislation. And also all the sensors bring in some more power electronics, copper. So these are also issues which we have to face when coming to the recycling in order to break down or get down this copper content, for instance. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks for the comment. Now coming a bit back to the human factor, Mr. Soda, I think this is, of course, naturally also one of your topics. We referred how Primetals Technologies is supporting steel producers with the central operation cockpit actually to assist them. I think this is also one of your topics, of course, not just that new technologies are needed to master the green transformation, but also the human factor has to be like coached, right?
Yeah, the transformation is a complex undertaking, and we have manifold challenges in this transformation process, technical nature, technological nature, in the nature of the energy prices, that our industry can be competitive. And one of the big challenges is also on the human factor, on the quality and the qualification, the skills, the competences of the workforce. So in Austria, we have a good basis. We have high qualified, high skilled labor force, but we have much to do. And the European Union had this year of skills, the skills pact and so on, where they tried to address this topic of labor shortages, high qualified, to qualify the workforce for this new circular, green and digital economy. But the competences for labor market policies remains on the member state level. And what is missing currently is that, or we have the urgent need to strategically think about to implement labor market and educational policies to better support the qualification and the skills formation, the trainings for the employees that will work in future on these new areas, in these new fields with the competences that are needed. And that is not only true for industry, it is true for all levels of education. So we need also training programs for workers in the lower qualified or measures in the lower qualified area to qualify and support the skills formation. But because what is clear is without the employees and the workers, we will not be able to bring the transformation in reality. Although there are some hopes that some robots will come, but I don't think that is in the near future. So we have the urgent need to act and to invest in the brains, because that is also a competitive advantage of Europe and especially from Austria in the global economy. We have the high qualified, high skilled workers, and this enables us to recombine different qualification levels to hopefully thrive in its future demands from the economy.
Thanks for that. So maybe the final question, since we're at the end of time, to Alexander, since you opened our event, I would love that you also close it. So we've heard a lot now about new things that have to happen to master the green transition, to create a circular economy for steel. And in your presentation, you mentioned that, of course, when there are new technologies coming up, there is quite a lot of reservations from different stakeholders. What do you think, where could all of us, and I mean now all of us, there are a lot of people now on stage or in the audience, how could all of us really help or contribute to overcome these problems and maybe to change this attitude in terms of reservations?
I have to keep it short. This is quite a comprehensive question, Christoph. But I would say the first and likely most important learning we have, and this event definitely supported, is collaboration. So, well, out of the silo. So the steel sector requires strong collaboration with the energy sector, with the raw material side. We talk about digitalization, which is a very broad topic, including AI, and we require the demand side. So I think what was mentioned just recently now here, that the EU is refocusing a little bit from the Green Deal now to competitiveness. I think that's a key point for all of us sitting here in this room. So just one simple example here at the end. Even if some major steel producers have received significant amount of taxpayers' money, take a 5 million ton of steel mill, and this steel mill received 1 billion taxpayers' money. So let's take 10 years, like the Klimaschutzvertrag in Germany. So it produced 50 million ton. This is a support of 20 euro per ton of steel. On the other side, the second pillar is the ETS, a new ETS. So we have actually a price level today of 65 euro per ton of CO2. If the steel mill improves to reduce the carbon footprint by 1 ton of CO2 per ton of steel, that's a benefit of 65 euro per ton of steel. So finally, the gap if we talk about decarbonized steel, we talk about 30 to 40%, let's take 300, 400 euro per ton. So we cannot close the gap by taxpayers' money. And governments will run dry in their wallets. Yeah? So this is not the solution. The only way out is the end consumer market. Yeah? The demand side will have to accept to pay a premium price. So all of us, any consumer that want to have a decarbonized product will have to pay for it. That's the only way out. And I think this collaboration and these events are extremely important to understand this complex ecosystem with all the aspects. Helps a lot, and we have to continue to work on that.
Thanks a lot, Alexander, for the statement. I would love to continue with you discussing how to craft the circular economy for green steel for a longer time. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, but maybe this is a starting point for further discussions later on in the networking phase. Thanks a lot to our panelists.